Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Snap Decisions. I am your Snap DJ, your host with the most, and I have a returning guest with me tonight that I'm very excited to talk to. It is Adamstar Marvel Snap Fanzine. How are you, man? Thanks for coming
I'm
back on
good.
again and joining me.
Thank you so much, Joe. Thanks for having me. Awesome.
Absolutely, absolutely. We're going to talk about a lot of stuff tonight. We're going to chat about of course, the new season coming up of Eternals has a special place in Adam Starr's heart as well.
Yep,
He's a big fan of Eternals, so we're going to talk about
I
that.
am.
We're going to do a top five list, each of us, of our top five Jack Kirby Marvel art. And of course, how it relates to Marvel Snap. So we'll do that a little bit later in the show. And yeah, we're just going to talk about Snap as a game and what we think about what's going on and stuff like that as well. So yeah, that's what we're going to get into it. Of course, also, and the reason why I wanted to talk to you the most, he's got a fanzine that is out there, and started off, Adam, by talking about that. Where you came up with the idea to do it, I think it's fascinating. It brought, like I was telling you before the show, it brought me back to some things that I saw when I was a kid. I remember like the old 1970s Marvel puzzle books and things like that. And yeah, I want to talk to you about that because it's phenomenal. You're doing like cartoon strips. He's got puzzles in there at one point. A whole lot of work that you're
Oh, yeah.
putting in that. But yeah, tell everybody about that because I think it's awesome.
So yeah, I mean, I really am a big proponent of fan art and like our right to like take this media and make a statement about it or do
Mhm.
something with it, enjoy it on that level as well. Be, have a creative output on it. Like Jack Kirby, which we're talking about, was the generator of so much of this material, and that got taken by him on a corporate level and then used. And I kind of feel like just we have the right to use that as well. If it's out there and these corporations are using it, we get to use it too. And I'm not asking for any money or anything. I just want to do it for out of love and out of fun. But like, so I've been doing fan art things on a with my other account just for a while now. And then I got really into Marvel Snap because it's a very addictive, fun game, as you
Yes.
know.
Yeah.
And and then I just started really thinking about how there's like a lot of creative. It's like I'm not reading comic books really that much right now, and if when I do, they're old comic books. But for the most part, if every once in a while something grabs me my attention and I check it out. Um, but this game is letting me interact with this IP that is so meaningful to me, and it really is like there's a storytelling component to it, and I don't mean like an RPG kind of story, but you're like making these cards and these characters interact in this interesting kind of way,
Yeah.
and it's satisfying, it's fun. So I was thinking, what other creative things can we do? And I'm on Twitter, and I make a lot of various posts that I think are funny or interesting or informative. And I think somewhere I made a joke about how like I'd like to do a real zine, like a paper zine about this digital game, like the irony of that, just like this, like
Yep.
the kind of zine that you find in a comic book store or
Mhm.
like in a zine library of some sort or something, like like a real zine. But then I was like, that's actually kind of a fun idea, is to actually make a zine. And of course, a paper zine is not practical at all for this day and time, but a digital zine is. Um, and so it just seemed fun to put it all together as a package and present it like that and have kind of that old vibe, but also have so much freedom to change it each month, have one per season. And like, instead of piecing it all out, my various thoughts and projects and stuff, putting it all together as a single package under a single theme, the same way the game has that singular theme. So this is the second one out. It just came out today. And
Nice.
really like working up to the last minute on it because I wanted to get it done before the season started. And it's been a lot of fun. Like, and I really like am encouraging everyone to like find a creative outlet involved in this game, especially the people who are feeling like it's getting stale. Like maybe you're not finding your actual groove here. Like maybe it's not just about the ladder or the conquest border or those things. Maybe there's other things here that might grab your attention and bring you joy, which is what it should be about.
Yeah, that's a great point. And when I was talking to some other people throughout the course of the week on Twitter, one of the things that I think people forget is, yes, of course, it's a competitive game. All games are. are to a certain extent. However, I think at times we do kind of lose sight of, all of a sudden it becomes like no matter what kind of competitive thing you're playing, whether it's a shooter or whether it's many times like, and I can't play shooters. I have a motion sickness thing that never allowed me to do that. But many times you're so into it that you kind of forget what you're playing. Like, it doesn't even really matter at one point what the things are on the screen, as long as they're doing what you want them to do. And then it's almost as if you're, you can, if you're going back to like, some of the older 80s movies and stuff where you're looking at a screen, maybe through like They Live, where you're looking through glasses, right?
Yeah.
And then you're seeing nothing but black and white. And that's really almost how it is, like you forget that the game can be fun, that when you see, that's, I think why I got drawn so much to Galactus, because I just love the animation. I love what he does. And it's like, I like all that stuff. I play the game because of it. And you're right. You're 100% right. I think, like, there's different groups of people who play. There's the competitive people that they want to be on that infinite ladder. They want to see their rank climb and stuff like that, which is fine. And then, there's people who are trying to get to ladder, or trying to get to infinite ladder. Maybe there's people who want to play like they like the conquest format. But when you get to that point, and we all kind of reach that, we're at the end of the season, we're a day away, right? So everybody kind of sets themselves a little goal. Maybe, okay, I want to do this, I want to do that before the season ends. And then you get yourself into a bit of a frenzy that last couple of days, and you want to get to where you want to go. But like you said, so many times you overlook exactly what it is. Those cards can be anything. They can literally be blank pieces of paper with numbers on them, and you're not even paying attention to what they are. You just want to get to what you are. That's fascinating. No.
I can't play shooters because I get emotional sickness. Personally, I'm like, oh, I'm sorry, cartoon guy. I didn't mean to shoot you in the head.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go.
But no, it's true. Like, every once in a while you encounter someone who presents as not caring about the lore at all, and that's cool. But I'm like, just play cards. Like, they, like, why are you playing Marvel cards?
Play poker, dude.
Yeah, there's lots of card games out there.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, hell, you could probably make a whole lot more money playing poker for that matter. It's true. It is, and it's not just card games, mobile games, whatever. It's like that really with anything. And I say this to my audience a lot. If you're not having fun playing this, and it becomes a chore where you're like, oh, I gotta log in, I gotta do my daily quests, I gotta get to it. Then you're doing it for all the wrong reasons. You really are.
What are you doing it for? Right.
Right.
And what do you got to prove at the end of the day? Like, anonymous strangers on the internet, like, think you're better because you got a higher score. Like, I don't know. Like, it's ultimately fairly empty. So I don't know. But I'm still loving the game, and I've hit infinite. I've not hit infinite. Like you're saying, I think it's very time based. Like, and what do you have going on in your day, like, and what are you able to do today? So
I like everybody to know that, because it's and I've said that on the show several times. It's very clear to me that you really, and the thing is, it's funny because when they first talked about this game coming out, they talked about it as a very casual game. You can play games in minutes, was the big thing.
Right. No, it's true.
But with all this stuff, and if you want to achieve certain things, it's like anything else in life. You have to set your goals to the point of where you can get to them. If you're a person who, like me, I work 5 days out of 7. I have other things that I do with my life. I have another podcast that I do besides this one. There's other things I just like to watch on TV. It's not like the new Star Wars thing comes out tomorrow on Disney. I'm going to want to watch it. It's just, I read comic books. There's other things I do. So obviously I can't spend 15 to 20 hours playing this game in a couple of weeks to try to get to infinite. I just can't.
Right.
So, and then there are people who can, which is great. If you can do that and you enjoy that, then 100% go for it. But, I think one of the big things really with this, and it's like life really, you got to make yourself reachable goals. That's what it is. You look back at it and say, okay, I can do this. I can shoot for, Yeah, I heard another content creator saying way back when I first started listening to them, like if your goal is to get that the variant at level 60, then that's perfectly fine. If
Yeah,
that's
right.
what you're going for, shoot for that, right?
For sure. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. It's crazy, man. It's crazy, but yeah, and people often forget about the lore, and that's the reason why I love this game.
Oh, me too. Yeah.
Yeah, it reminds me, of comic books I haven't read in ages, and characters and the artwork and stuff like that that I haven't seen in such a long time. And I know we're getting more of those amazing comic book covers coming up soon, which
Yeah.
I love
My
them.
favorite.
Me
Yeah.
too. Me too. I
Our
absolutely.
first Kirby card. I think we talked about it last time a little bit, like that Captain America Avengers cover, like
Oh,
Avengers 4, I think.
yeah.
And that's going to be the first actual Jack Kirby card in the game, so that's pretty exciting, actually.
Which is crazy because I
Yeah,
mean,
it
come
is.
on, Kirby's like you would
Yep.
think they would have. It's funny to me because I wonder, like, and I know there's art or there's, I'm sorry, licensing involved, but
Yep.
if they have the Marvel license, I would think they'd have access to anything, right?
It's mysterious. It's one of those things that I don't think gets talked about too much, like how that aspect of it works. And I've always wondered, like, because like, that's something I've done in both issues of the zine so far, and even before that, I did it a little bit. Like the snap variants that I wish existed. Like there's so many great, amazing cards, and then there's so much fantastic artwork. So like a mock-up card of like this artist's this character, like there should be a few Kirby Eternals, like it would
Agreed.
just make sense. But so yeah, I don't know. I always have kind of wondered like what factors determine like how the art works and the art acquisition works.
Yeah, it really is something to think about because I know, look, in the 90s when Marvel was struggling, that was part of before the big movies came out, before Spider-Man came out even,
Yeah,
and that was when they sold off a lot of their stuff.
yeah,
So then you start to think, well, maybe it's a business thing where maybe the rights went back to some of the creators, or something like that, and maybe that's why maybe it's a little bit difficult for them to get a hold of stuff like that. I don't know. I really
yeah.
don't know how any of that works. I could pretend to know that legalese stuff, but I do not.
Sure. No, I know that there were some certain business deals with certain people, probably not even close to what they deserved. And I know there is like a quiet, probably deal with the Kirby estate. I don't know if that's a factor in, like they don't want to like have to pay an additional amount of royalties to them, or I don't know how it works. And I don't think it's been disclosed, but I think Ditko and Kirby, both their estates have some level of deal that's been reached. And it's still like a shadow of what they probably deserved to get paid. But
Yeah. Adam, give me 1 second. My daughter's
yep.
knocking at the door. Give me
Oh,
1 second. We're
absolutely.
back. Sorry about that.
No problem. I
We
got
we had a door incident.
yes, I got kids.
Oh, but yeah, no, 100%. And I I can't believe like you did all that. You did all your own art for all those comic strips too, didn't you?
Oh yeah, yes, I did.
Amazing.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's amazing. And there's another thing too. I read those things religiously in the Sunday paper.
Oh, me too.
Every
Yeah.
single Sunday, my grandparents would get it, and every single Sunday, I read all the strips. And I love how your strips were callbacks to certain comic strips that were out. And
Yeah, they're
man,
pretty classically based. Like, yeah, same. Like I really like loved that as a kid. Like, and I think that's where a lot of my love for visual art and sequential art, like an art that tells a story like a comic book or a comic strip, like came from like Sunday papers and like and then like thinking about the different styles and how this artist or tells a different type of story and draws a different type of picture, and like that was always really interesting to me. So my degree is actually in art history, because I just always found that kind of thing fascinating, like stylistic differences and thinking about like what motivates an artist to be a certain way. So I
yeah,
put a lot of time into those comic strips. I hope people enjoy them, and I really hope they kind of like go around. Like I hope like people like find the ones they like and put them. I don't know that I will do them every month. I don't want to do almost anything every month. Like I would like it to be mixed up a little bit, but I probably will do more at some point because it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, they're tremendous. Like they're, I mean, I always had my favorites, right? I would read most of them, most of all of them in the paper, but I always have. I remember Hager the Horrible was one of my favorites.
Yeah,
Of course, Snoopy.
yeah, sure.
Spider-Man was even a comic strip.
It was, They had to tell the story so slow. Like,
oh my God, I know. Three panels a week.
Yes. But I read them. I was like, okay, what's going on with it seemed like a lot of Peter and Mary Jane stuff when I was reading it. Like,
it really was.
But it was great. Yeah.
They never really had many villains in that. I noticed you're always waiting for some villains to come in there, and it's like more of the human stuff with Peter and Mary Jane and Jonah Jameson was in a bunch, and But I remember I was like upset. I clipped them. I used to clip them out of the paper, and then I would put them in like I had a scrapbook, so I put them in like a scrapbook, and I would save them to read them all again at some point in time, like a comic book. But it's such a, a lot of that stuff you miss. And I know they still do them. Like Sunday papers still have comics even to this day. They're still in some of them, but it's just,
not quite the same. Yeah.
No.
I always loved Bloom County. I really tried to find a Bloom County angle for something in this, but I couldn't quite get there. Like it's a little bit too complicated to make it, Garfield's easy to kind of riff on, but
oh man, yeah, it's so good. Where can everybody find this? I know it's on you have the link on your Twitter, I know, right?
Yes. So yeah, that's it. Like I don't really do any other social media besides Twitter. So it's it's at melodramakitch1 on Twitter. MELODRAMAKITCH and the number 1. And that is nice. My studio name, which is really just me, is Melodrama Kitchen. So that's why it's that particular handle.
Nice. And I did share it over on my X too, so make sure you go and check that out. Absolutely. I know the last time you and I spoke, you were coming off of an art show as well, right?
I did have a little art show at Syracuse University, which was pretty fun. It was a pretty good time. Yeah. Nice. It was weird to see my stuff, which is mostly digital and mostly just intended for this kind of thing, sharing on social media, like really for my own entertainment more than anything else. It's interesting to see it on walls, like and on monitors, and to it was kind of a cool, surreal moment for me because I never really pursued that type of path as an artistic person. Like so it was neat to have that, be able to have that experience. It was pretty cool. Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's awesome. It's great when you can. It's very similar to almost like what I'm doing with this a little bit. I get to relive a dream that I had way back when, that I couldn't really pursue that much because life happens. You go through and things happen in your life and things just change. Your directions change a little bit, so yeah, it's great when you could do that. And that's why I always say to people, listen, you're never too old to do anything. If you've got that dream and you really want to pursue something, you're never too old to do it. Go and start whatever it is you feel like doing and give it a try. You'll be sorrier if you don't. So yeah, I love that. That's awesome. Do you have anything new? Do you have anything else coming up like that?
No, I'm not really pursuing that. Like it's not really me. So like if something like that, the student curator approached me for that and asked me if I would let her use my work for her gallery show that she put together. And I really appreciated that. But I'm not really looking to do that so much. Like I've got a job that I like and I care about and is important, and I've got a family that I deeply care about and is important. Yeah. And I'm not looking to live an artist's lifestyle by any means. Like as an art historian, I know that that's, usually full of a lot of sadness. So
when you read about like
Yeah.
I took to started reading about some of the artists that do the stuff for Snap, just looking some of them up and stuff like that,
Yeah.
and you see a lot of it is probably very different. It's almost like they're contracted in a way. They'll
Sure.
come
Yep.
in and they'll do some pieces here and there for one company, and then another company gets a hold of them, and then they'll be like, okay, and then they go over and do some pieces for the other company and stuff like that. Whereas back in the day that you and I are going to talk about in a little bit, but of course, the days of Jack Kirby and Stan Lee and all the artists like that, they pretty much were one company. Well, they would bounce around a little bit, I guess.
They
too.
would, but
Yeah,
there was
yeah,
exclusivity, especially at the beginning of that like 60s Silver Age
yeah,
period. There was a lot of more like exclusive contracts, it seemed, but like they were work for hire still, so they didn't have like benefits or
yeah,
like and
yeah,
they did bounce around. Certainly, Jack Kirby bounces between the two in a pretty significant way, like
yeah, he did.
major impacts at both places that you know um, are pretty interesting. Steve Ditko too, like Steve Ditko co-created Spider-Man and
Yep.
Doctor Strange. Like Steve Ditko is a strange guy with some strange beliefs, but like a tremendous artist, maybe the greatest costume design ever in the original Spider-Man costume. Like that is a work of pure brilliance, like
Oh,
by
no
anybody who's
doubt.
stretching the imagination. And got fed up with Marvel, did a lot of independent stuff, did a lot of that Charlton stuff that became like Blue Beetle and The Question and Captain Atom that DC ended up acquiring. And then he did some DC stuff back at Marvel, like, and these guys like had to work. Like they never got to like, you think the guy that made Spider-Man could like retire at 50 if he wanted to,
A
but he
millionaire,
couldn't.
yeah,
Yeah,
right.
right. But he couldn't. So he had to go back and draw more. Never Spider-Man again, though. He was pretty strict on that. Like he didn't do Spider-Man again. But
Do you remember back to what one of the first comic books you ever picked up was?
so yeah, I mean, there were always comics around my
Yeah.
house. Like my dad liked comics, but he wasn't like serious. He really liked music. That was like his main passion. But he always picked up comics. So there was like a lot of Doctor Strange and Howard the Duck comic books around because he liked
Yep.
kind of that like offbeat kind of like
Yep.
head shop kind of stuff.
Yep.
But so like I've loved Star Wars. So probably the first comic book I bought was probably a Star Wars comic. And I had like, I think it was number 7 or 8 of the Star Wars series.
Okay.
It's Han Solo and Chewbacca
On the cover.
on the cover.
Remember that.
It's the first one that's not telling the movie story.
Yep.
It's the first
Yep.
post one. And it's just like,
Han Solo and Chewbacca at Star's End, I think, was the name of the
yes.
comic book. Yes.
I know Carmen Infantino did the cover of it, and it's a tremendous cover. It's like really pretty famous. So I had that. I was into the Star Wars stuff really hard, and then like I played a lot of D&D and liked Lord of the Rings and all that fantasy stuff. And so I saw on a comic book shelf, like at the mom and pop store, I bought comics, Rom Space Knight. I was like, Space Knight, like I love both those things. So I was reading Rom Space Knight, and then Secret Wars came out, started coming out in the
80s.
1984. Yeah. And so I started reading Secret Wars, and that kind of wormed me into the Marvel universe. And there was a Uncanny X-Men cover that I just thought was like startlingly striking. And I bought that, and I got really into the X-Men. But I also was into DC. Like I was really always mainly a Marvel guy, but like I got into DC in kind of the same way. Crisis on Infinite Earths came out like the next year, and it's got that tremendous detailed George Perez art. It was hard not to be in love with that. And like and it was a weird experience because you're learning all of this vast mythology that they're erasing with that story as it goes along. It was a strange thing, but yeah, I would say that Star Wars was my first, but probably I think it's like X-Men 180, Uncanny X-Men 183, and it's got a John Romita Jr. cover of Rogue in the orange tunic. And it's just a Rogue solo story, and that's the one that I think really like. I think if I hadn't gotten into the X-Men at that point, and I bought the graphic novel not that long after that, God Loves Man Kills, like which I was probably a little young for at the time that I picked it up, but like that was like felt like literature to me. Like I was like, this is significant. Like, this isn't just like funny or,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
for fun. This is like has something to say. And I think I wouldn't have probably been that deeply into comics if not for that moment when I got into that particular branch of it. But
Yeah. Yeah. No, 100%. I was the Star Wars stuff, I'm right there with you. I mean, I
yeah,
was fascinated by Star Wars when I saw it when I was a kid. And then of course that was the only way to continue the story, were those
yes,
were
yeah,
the comics. Because that was it. Once, you know, once the movies came out, we didn't know we were getting a sequel. No one
right,
did.
yeah. And when you're a
So
kid, it felt like forever. Like, it's
oh
gonna
my
be
God.
2 years.
See, yeah. Now it's like when you know, movies sometimes, you know, they're 3 years apart, they're
Yeah,
longer than that. But yeah, no, you're right. And that was really all we had. In fact, we talked about comic strips. There was a Star Wars one too,
yes, yeah,
that used to be in the paper. So yeah, I mean, we are all into that. That was, I remember that book also because that was where Jackson the Green Rabbit came out.
yes.
Uh,
Absolutely, I was gonna mention
Yep,
him. Yeah,
they had
he
that
was
big
in that
green
one.
rabbit with them, and so,
Yep.
yeah, like it was, but it's so good. I go back. I have those. I think I have omnibuses for them, and I go
Oh,
back and I
cool.
read them every now
Yeah,
and then because it's a lot of fun.
it is. It's great.
It was, yeah, it was just so good. I had like you had mentioned, Doctor Strange. I love Doctor Strange books. I used to get, now my grandparents would go to stores and they'd buy me because there weren't back then there weren't a lot of comic shops around. It
Right.
was
Yeah.
mostly like just little stores you'd go to that had the rack, the spinning racks. But my grandparents would get me the Treasury editions, the Marvel Treasury editions, the bigger comics.
Yeah.
They used to cost $1. They had $1 little thing on the
Yeah.
side.
A whole dollar.
Yeah, right.
Right.
And I remember them getting me a Doctor Strange, and I loved it, like the psychedelic colors and the,
Yeah.
you know, all that kind of stuff. And that was where, yeah, I laugh about it, but that was where the first time I'd seen Agatha. Agatha
Sure.
was in one
Yeah.
of those
Yeah.
Treasury
Yeah.
editions. The story where the Fantastic Four brought their son over for this old woman in this creepy
Yeah.
looking house to babysit. First of all, who takes a child to a creepy looking house like that? Oh
Right.
yeah, we're gonna have a
Yeah.
babysitter. Check it.
Here's
But
a potentially god level powered baby. We're gonna give
right.
it, give him to her.
Yeah, we're gonna let him in here with this witch,
Yeah.
and
It
then
was
the
so well presented, Agatha. She was fantastic.
creepy Agatha,
Yeah.
man. It
Yeah.
really was. It was when she could hold the cat, and she had that old spinster kind of lady with the wrinkles on her
Yeah.
face and the bun, like the gray bun hair, and then yeah, they have a card that's one of my favorite cards in Snap. I literally have that one. I love
Is
that
that the Dan Hip one?
yeah,
Or yeah, yeah.
the Dan Hip one, but
Oh,
also
okay.
there's just a regular one with
Oh, where
her
she's
on there.
yeah, where she's
Yeah,
older. Yeah.
yeah, it's
Oh, I think
yeah,
I might have. Do I have that one? I don't know. Is you
yeah,
see some of these variants so much, like you can't remember if you actually have them or you
have it.
just have seen them. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, no, yeah, for sure. And then
Like the albums come out, I'm like, oh, I thought I had that one. I guess I don't.
But yeah, I was introduced to a lot of the stuff with that. Like I had a Fantastic Four book like that. Captain America's talking about Kirby, Cap's
Yeah, that's
Bicentennial
tremendous.
Battles one, where he's,
Yes.
you know, he's got the pose on the front where he's holding the shield on one side, and then you see all the panels around. It was basically a history lesson book.
Yep.
You had all these historical different caps with you know, where he wore the
Right.
old red
Yeah.
coat hat and stuff like that. And but it was all drawn by Jack Kirby. And yeah, so it was just it was amazing. And it's funny because I've read them throughout my life. There was maybe a 3-4 year period when I went to college that I stopped for a bit, and then that took me to the 90s when the 90s just exploded with all these huge storylines, and I got back
Yeah.
in because I heard Superman died, and I'm like, I gotta check that out.
Right.
And then that went to the Batman thing with Bane, and then you got
Yeah.
into the X-Men stuff, and there's you know, but and you know, like you said, you'll see, and I find myself reading some strange stuff too here and there, like different off the wall comic books and stuff. I really loved The Crow when James
Yeah.
O'Barr did The Crow
Yep.
was such a fantastic piece of literature. And it was like when I found out the backstory and how sad that was. He lost his girlfriend and something or other. She came to pick him up, and he was hit by a drunk driver and killed. And it was just a tragic story behind that. But yeah, man, comics have been a part of my life for so long,
Yeah,
and
same.
continue to be.
Yep.
You know, like I mentioned to you, I'm reading now the new Ultimate Spider-Man, which I think is tremendous.
Yeah, I gotta check that out. I really like Hickman. So
really good. You'll like it. And they're doing an X-Men one now too. They're doing a Black Panther, but the Spider-Man one's great. He's older. He's in his 40s, and hey, Uncle Ben didn't die. So
that's fascinating.
I'm like, wow, Uncle Ben actually lived. So yeah, I had to look at it, but it's really good. Hickman's awesome.
He is.
But yeah, it's great stuff, man. It really is. The background of this is so extensive, and that's why I tell people all the time, like, go and read some comics. Go check out like the history of this stuff, because it's really, really, really fascinating. So.
Yeah.
Good stuff. All right, we're going to go over some now. Again, we have top 5 lists coming up of our favorite artwork and stuff that we have, of course, with Jack Kirby. So we have all that coming up. We are going to talk about. Well, first of all, I'll ask you about what did you think of this past season overall for Marvel Snap? I thought it was pretty good.
I thought it was fun.
Yeah,
I didn't have any complaints this season per se. I mean, I think fixing the leech problem when they did was important. That was this season, right? Where they fixed it. Like it was last season when they introduced it, and this season when they put it back. Like so that I mean that really felt like a problem to me. And I generally don't like really call for nerfs at all. Like, you know, I always kind of think of like even, you know, Hella's annoying. And back, right? It feels like a little bit, at least in my pocket. And I always try to think of them as boss fights. Like maybe I will like have the combination that's going to win this time. Like, and that's all it is. Like, so it doesn't, I never really call for anything to get the leech thing was super irritating. Like 5 or 6 games in a row where you're just getting like leeched on turn 4. Like, you're like, what am I, you know, this isn't fun. So I think they corrected that pretty quickly, and that was good. I think the cards were really fun. I didn't get Namorita, which she turned out to be pretty good, right?
She did. I was surprised by that, actually.
Yeah. But I'm really enjoying Sasquatch. I'm glad I got that card.
Oh yeah, he's good.
And
she's good.
Yeah, she's good. Yeah, I've been doing the last 2 seasons, I've just been doing a lot of like, I'm a Legion scammer. Like that's my main like thing that I want to do is like play with those locations and see what I can do and trick people near the end. And then like really like into Pixie. So like Sasquatch works really well with Pixie because if you don't cheapen Sasquatch, you can cheapen in another, like you can naturally get Sasquatch's points like cost to go down, or you could just like pop her out like unexpectedly because of Pixie. So so that's been a lot. I've been having a lot of fun. Like I got into Blink kind of slowly, but I've been playing with Blink more recently, and like that's a fun play too, is to swap out. Like you drop a red guardian on someone, you kill their vampire, and then you change them into Magneto. Like that's a good time.
That's pretty good. It's a pretty good swap out. Yeah. I was doing. Blink's pretty strong season pass card. I'm playing with that big cards Galactus deck with the death and with the null and all that. Man, am I having a blast blinking Galactus into a lane? Oh my gosh.
I got Galactus today. Like I did not see it coming. Like I was all set up. I was like, I'm gonna win this. Like, and then they Galactus me, and that was a good game. Like I am always impressed by that Galactus that you actually don't see coming. Like that takes some talent.
It's so hard to play now because it can be beaten by anything, and so many people are playing big power everywhere. So it's very difficult to get out there. But sometimes people leave they'll leave a lane alone, and then you just see what. But the Blink thing is kind of a fake out anyway, because if they see you have a card there and you played a card there prior, that might be like I don't know, it might be a 3 power something. But they see that there, they sometimes are like, yeah, I'm not going over there right now. And then you blink Galactus into that lane, and then all of a sudden it's a lot.
It's a lot fun. Sneakier than like Wave, like where you're like, oh, I'm better like cover that lane over there.
Yeah, the minute they see the Electro or the Wave or something come out, they're always ready for it, and it's like, I'm covering up that empty lane because I know what's coming. So but I thought overall it was a pretty good season. I mean, Namora is certainly a niche card. She fits well in like Wong decks and stuff like that can pump that up. And
I feel I will get her eventually. Like she'll just fall into my collection eventually, and
Yeah.
I will play around with her. I can't see myself not being frustrated, like trying to make that work consistently. Like,
Yeah.
but I could be wrong, but like it's such a major restriction. It seems to me to like.
Yeah, yeah, it really is. It's tough to do. Like today, I got a I think I posted it on Twitter. I got a play where I had I had a lady Sif in there, and then I ended
Oh, I
up
saw that.
that was insane. I've never seen a
Yes.
play like that.
Yeah.
I was like, I was playing I was playing just a general discard deck, so it's just the APOC discard.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, I get a I got a Loki from the other player, and I got a bunch of hits. So I got all of his cards. I pulled I can't even remember. Oh, a helicarrier. The helicarrier went off. I got Loki. So then I'm like, okay, I have Loki in my hand. What am I going to do now? And the next thing I know, so it plays the Loki, which I didn't even mean to. It got pulled into the game by that one location that pulls a card out of your hand.
Right. Yeah.
So it
Yeah.
plays,
Oh, yeah.
yeah. So it
Star.
plays the Loki, right? And then the next thing I know, I have all of his cards or her cards. I have Wong, Namora, like I had the whole setup, and
Right.
I only had 2 cards down, one on each lane. I'm like, oh, this is absolutely
It's
perfect.
like,
Like I'm like this
heavens
couldn't have been
open up.
right. This couldn't have been planned any better. And then I ended up with a Lady Sif over 100 and some points because I had the Odin afterwards, the Namor, and then I just kept pumping power into that Lady Sif. I'm like,
Smoke a
oh,
cigarette
this
afterwards.
is
Like
tremendous. Now I see why people love Loki. I probably should play that more.
Good
But
times with Loki. I really like those random cards, like plays that you can when they work. Like when you make that work, that's. I always play district decks. Like I can't stand when people run away from that. Like, come on, let's see what happens. Like,
yeah. Speaking of which, we're going to get a good card this coming month that's going to have a lot of random. I'm excited for that card. I really am. I think that's going to be a lot of fun. But yeah, it's I think it was a pretty good season. I think the cards of Nocturne, of course, was in there too. Nocturne's pretty good. Yeah, I think, and of course, who was the other one I'm missing? Sage, Sage is a pretty decent card too.
Yeah.
I think it was all in all pretty. It was pretty good overall season. I think altogether, and
it's pretty cool that and I don't know how purposeful it was, but like 5 cards, all women characters. That's pretty great. Like
that is cool.
That's really progressive for like
Very
when we started with, this very male dominated industry and genre, like, that it's progressed to this where like, and I thought that was pretty awesome. I don't know if they meant to do it, but like it's almost better if they didn't mean to do it.
Yeah.
But like,
that's true.
They're still like ruining comic book movies by worrying about like what toys boys are going to buy. And that's such they have to go away from that. Girls play with these toys also. Like and boys, I always was frustrated with the Star Wars figures that I only had so many. There was just Princess Leia. That was it. Like,
you're right.
And I would have played with female characters if they were part of the story. Like, they should be there.
That was until they came out, until she had the figure in Return of the Jedi, that Bosch, the bounty hunter, but that was Leia as well.
Yeah,
it was just another form of Princess Leia. But you're 100%. It was all just different forms of Leia. You had the Cloud City Leia figure, and all the different forms. But 100% right. Look, it's that's I chuckled a little bit when people were starting, and it even got to the devs about Sasquatch saying, people asking why isn't Sasquatch brown?
Right.
Why are, and then they're like, they're 2 different ones, and you have to.
Well, there was Sasquatch's got a pretty long, complicated story, but
Langowski and
Snowbird.
All,
Snowbird was Sasquatch for a while, even in like so there was a white Sasquatch before this. Heather, I don't know this Exiles story at all. Like I don't have firsthand knowledge of that. So that's Heather Hudson, who is Guardian's wife, who became Vindicator, but
Vindicator,
in that reality, she became Sasquatch. Like I don't know that tale. But it's interesting. But But yeah, I kind of wish that they would have a second Sasquatch. Like they said, he's not a major enough character for them to like think that they're going to do another one, like the way that they will do a Ben Riley card.
Right.
And I don't know. It's probably because of when I got into comics. I kind of disagree. I think Sasquatch and Alpha. I think Alpha Flight needs to happen.
Oh, no doubt.
And I hope they do it at some point. Like, but
Yeah.
I think he's a major character. He was, especially in the mid '80s, like Sasquatch was always in Contest of Champions, and like he was visually striking character. So they put him in a lot of things. Big brown guy that you could stick in the background. Like,
he was in a couple of the animated series. I remember too. Yeah. So no, I would imagine they could look. They have so many different people often say, oh, they're going to run out of characters. Get out of here.
Ridiculous.
They could do this for the next like 30 years, and they probably
could.
never run out of characters from the biggest to the smallest. And it's
super fun when they make a small character and make that like into something. It's so much fun to me that Zabu. I know they ruined him, but they're going to fix him at some point. But like, Zabu was so important. Like he's just Kazar's friend. Like I love that Zabu was so like central to this game for such a long time. Just gotta like, I know.
That's why I said it's great, and it's part of the reason you go back to why we love to play the game. It's like you're finding out about characters that really weren't even central characters in comic books necessarily. They're more of like side characters, and they're still getting attention in the game, which I absolutely love. Cool. It was a good season overall. I thought it was good. I enjoyed most of the cards. I had a fun time. Oh well, now that you say you're a Legion player, did you take advantage? Did you take advantage of that Cancun?
I sure did. I'm sorry, but I'm gonna do it again when I get the opportunity. I'm totally happy just to like tie. Like if I'm losing, I'm like, no, we're both just walking away. Sorry. But also like if you can then like slip your Scarlet Witch or something in there and like
Scarlet Witch or Storm, else. I think you could play too.
Yeah. So I did enjoy that.
I had no idea. And then I'm writing about it because I only got a chance. I was playing in the morning and I lost 3 straight games because of it. And I was, and then I'm like, boy, this location. And then someone showed me this deck. They're like, well, you got to play this. And I looked at it. I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, I don't know if I could bring myself to do that.
I don't generally switch my decks up for the locations. I just play through. Like, I was already playing Evil Legion nonsense. So I was all set up for it. So.
Well, you're a Legion player, so that makes sense. I mean, that's in essence exactly what you're trying to do.
Yes.
You're trying to convert the locations to your benefit so that you can end up winning the game. I mean, I don't begrudge anybody for doing it. Look, hey, if it's out there, they obviously knew what was going to happen. I mean, when they're making the card, they're like, oh man, Legion players are going to have a ball with this card.
Do you know if there's a story reason why Cancun was a location? Like, is that play into the Exiles in some way, or is it just for summer vacation or spring break or something? Like,
I haven't read enough Exiles either to know that. That's a great question. I wonder if they hung out in Cancun at some point. Yeah, I should look that up.
I should too, but I didn't.
Yeah. If anyone's listening out there and you know the story, let me know and hit me up on X and let me know if that's what happened. Because I'm not as versed on the Exiles as I probably should be. No. But I'll have to go and check out some of the books and stuff now though. After this, I want to ask you because I haven't talked to you since. What did you think of X-Men '97?
Oh, that was tremendously good. Like,
brilliant.
So much better than I had hoped. Like I was looking forward to it. And it was so much better. I tend to be disappointed by X-Men stories. I'm just too much into like, especially that Claremont like core era of the X-Men. So I'm a real pain in the ass and like really picky. Like I don't like the Fox X-Men movies. I love some of the casting. I like 75% of the casting is really good.
Yeah.
I don't love all the story choices that they made. I hate when they like are constantly with the X-Men being like, well, let's just stick these 6 characters together that weren't actually like part of a cohesive narrative. Like so I loved how dedicated that show was to the actual X-Men story and played with it. Like it wasn't slavish. It was, but they they played around with the elements and they hit on so many great spots. And like they elevated Fatal Attractions for me. Like
Me too.
it just how they played that out and made it work was fantastic. And Smart Things too. Like I don't know, it was tremendously well done. And the animation I thought was beautiful.
It really was.
Yeah.
The episode that I go back to is the one where they were fighting against Trask, and they were in that city. It looked like it was in Japan or China somewhere, but that the colors on that were very anime-esque. Like the pinks and the purples and the, you know, I was like, wow, this is like stunning. The animation was amazing.
Yes. Yeah. And I'm a giant Nightcrawler fan. Like Nightcrawler's my character, and
he was excellent in that.
Great to have him. Like the first one where he was like, they changed the opening credits a little each time, and like Nightcrawler came in there. I was like, oh, finally,
yeah. And the Fatal Attractions thing shocked me. I'm like, when I saw him stab Magneto, I'm like, no, I'm sitting there going, no way, they're not doing this. No way, they're not going to do it. And then I see the scene and I'm like, they didn't just put that on an animated series. I'm like, I couldn't believe it. I remember reading the book and I was amazed. Now, the problem was back then, the 90s tended to give away a lot of stuff. So they would always advertise it. You'd see it in the previews and you'd see covers and you knew from the cover what was going to happen to him. But
a wizard issue, like or something.
You always saw it ahead of time, like what was happening to him. But I couldn't believe that they did that. And you're right, they did it so. And even like the scene itself, where you seen the blood and everything everywhere. I'm like, damn! Like I was shocked that they did that.
And I hope it comes back as good as it was this season.
Same here,
better. And I wonder what they're going to do there, like the feral Wolverine thing that they did. Following that was not my favorite like take on that character, but they're also kind of like, it's not nearly as drawn out, right? Like it won't be like 2 years of Wolverine being like in this weird form. Like it'll be a couple episodes or something before they move it on to something else. So it'll be interesting.
I'm sure he might have the bone claws for a little while and stuff like that. Yeah, but it was so good. I'm excited now for the next couple seasons. And look, I was laughing because when you saw the little cameos, and they showed Mary Jane and Peter, I'm like, he found Mary Jane after 40 some odd years.
Right? Yeah.
I was like, oh, that's tremendous.
It was really good. And I thought, what if the second season in particular was really strong? So like, it's exciting for Marvel's animation to like be getting someplace good.
It
hasn't
really
always
is
been the case. So like,
so many people said that this was their favorite Marvel thing that they had seen in many, many years. And that's saying something. And the cool thing is they can play around with anything with that because there's no licensing rules. So they can use anything they want to in any of those things that they want to do. I wouldn't be surprised if it leads to a Spider-Man 98, if it leads to other things. It wouldn't shock me.
It'd be smart. It'd be smart for them to do. Like,
it would be. I noticed they're not talking about what was it, Spider-Man, the one they were supposed to do with Peter Parker, and they were going to use Tom Holland as the voice. I can't remember what the name of it was now, but it looks very freshman year. Yep. You don't really hear much talk about that anymore. Right. And I'm like, I wonder if they're like, I think we're just going to go to 98 and do that instead of the freshman year thing. Yeah. Say hi. It was so good. It really was.
We should sell this nostalgia. Like, even like, Max or somebody should do like a Batman 67, like cartoon. Man. I know they did a couple of movies and stuff and they were fine, but like really like, it's always so dour. Like do a fun Batman, like that Batman Brave and the Bold. Did you watch that cartoon at all? That was a blast. Like it just leaned into the fun aspect of the character. There's so many sides to these characters. Like it can be fun too. So.
I'm pretty confident. I like James Gunn. I think he did great work with Marvel. I'm pretty confident that he's gonna do well over there. I really do. I think
I agree. I love his Suicide Squad movie.
Oh, me too.
It was really great. Really cool.
And then of course Peacemaker with John Cena was
Yes,
hilarious.
very good.
Yeah, I think he's going to do well over there.
Yeah,
I really do. I know
he's brilliant.
we saw a glimpse of his Superman already, which has become a meme, with him
Sure.
pulling up his boots and people are putting him in shoe stores and everything, changing his boots and stuff now. So it's like, but
Yeah.
I'm pretty excited for where DC is going to go. I really think that this might be a fun time
It'll be
for them.
interesting.
Yeah, no doubt. No doubt. All right. We're going to talk a little bit. Of course, we have the new season coming up tomorrow. So we are going to talk about Eternals. And I want to get your perspective on Eternals, because I know, and this is not the right slide. Yeah, that's just ruined it for the whole rest of the thing there. But anyway, we'll come back to that. I want to talk about Eternals with you a little bit, because you are an Eternals fan.
Absolutely.
And I want to get perspective on that, because that, to be honest with you, I've not read the books. I want to go back and do so. So yeah, man, I want to hear you talk to me about it, and what brought you to it, and why it was why you enjoyed it so much.
Well, it is pretty so there's been a lot of different Eternals runs. So like the ones that I'm very familiar with are like the original 19 issue Eternals Volume 1, Jack Kirby's stories. And then in 2006, Neil Gaiman and John Romita Jr. had a really exceptional 7-issue series. And those are the ones that I really know well, and love. But that Jack Kirby Eternals run is, a lot of people don't really enjoy it or don't get it, and it is such pure Kirby, and it's like this tremendous like world building that he did, and it wasn't intended to be part of the Marvel universe. Like he was really looking to like just have his own little pockets of comics that he was going to do through these publishers, and it kind of got pushed and pushed until he added a few little elements in there. And then when like they canceled the book and he worked a little bit more for Marvel, but then ended up leaving again, like they almost instantly were like, let's use this. And it's become the basis of all of Marvel's mythology. But it's always been kind of a weird interface, because they already were gods. And then they're like, here are the figures that people mistook for gods. So it was like two separate stories that they had to kind of like try to fold into each other, which is also one of the things I love about like these shared universes, that it's like there's so much room and depth that can happen, and like contradictory stuff that still coincides and somehow all works out. But like the energy of these stories, like the pure imagination, just like, and Jack Kirby's art is like so distinctive and unlike anything else, but just tremendously like powerful. And the story is fascinating. So I really love the movie too. Like Ben Brode, Eternals is my favorite Marvel movie, and people think I'm like just saying that to be a pain in the ass, but like I really significantly had an experience watching that movie. But the thing that they didn't do in that movie that they do in the comp that Jack Kirby did was like the deviants weren't just like these monsters. The deviants had their whole entire culture. Like they had this, there's thousands of them, and they had a whole civilization, and they were all looked different from one another. And it was sort of like very similar to the new gods of New Genesis compared to the new gods of Apocalypse. They were the monstrous side, and they were like this whole other culture. So it's almost Game of Thrones-ish in its like scope. Like it's this very vast like story with mythic overtones, and it's just a good time. Like I recommend the Eternals, and you can read it like in a couple days, like and read the whole Jack Kirby story. So it's pretty fun.
Now Kirby did New Gods as well. Now, so
did, yeah.
the timeline of that. So did he do? Was it Marvel first and then go over to DC and do New Gods? Is that
He
how it
did,
went?
yeah. So he was at Marvel from the 50s, really, but like he and Stan Lee started Marvel Universe proper with the Fantastic Four in 1961, and he was the architect really of the Marvel Universe, and left in 1970. And he had this New Gods project that he almost would have given to Marvel. He almost would have done
Okay.
that at Marvel, but he ended up getting a better deal from DC. Like he had more rights. They were going to let him write and edit his own book, and he was really looking for that level of freedom. So he took that property to DC, and it never really landed that well, despite the fact that, like Eternals, even more so maybe, like DC ended up like really using all of that New God stuff to the extent that it's like the the major background of the questionably good Justice League movie. But that's Jack Kirby stuff. That they're facing Steppenwolf, and then ultimately Darkseid.
Yeah.
Like that's Kirby. And that's a fascinating story. And similar, like in my article in my zine, I talk about how like there's similarities certainly between the Eternals, and so then that deal ended with DC in the, I think it was 72 or 73. He ends up back at Marvel, introduces the Eternals, and he also does Devil Dinosaur at that time. And we talked somewhere else about how Machine Man, like,
Michelle, I love, my God, I love
came out of his he was doing a 2001 kind of anthology series, and Machine Man was developed out of then. So and then that really great Jack Kirby Captain America era was at that same time. But like he really was, you can see he had this fascination with these super civilizations, so like the Inhumans, and then the New Gods, the Asgardians, even in the old Thor stories, like this, like a world of super powered beings that like was a whole fully fleshed out environment, not just one guy with superpowers amongst normal people, but a whole culture of them. So it's just one of those ideas he kept returning to. So there is a similarity there, but the scope and idea of it is almost the opposite, right? Like the Eternals have always been here and hidden,
right?
And like affecting things behind the scenes, where the New Gods are in their own worlds and having this like cosmic operatic conflict that like eventually spills out into boom tubes, literally out into the earth, and like
it's great. I mean, it is. You're right. It's fascinating. It goes along with like when I was younger. I remember watching a film called Clash of the Titans.
Oh yeah,
loved it. Absolutely. That was Harryhausen. That did that. And I loved all that stuff, man. I loved all that, the warring gods fighting one another, and then, and all that kind of stuff. And, you wonder, all of this stuff is historical, and comics always kind of tended to represent history stuff one way or the other. The artists and the writers would draw into that. So I'm sure he probably got some of his inspiration from stuff like that, from maybe some Greek mythology and stuff as he wrote these books.
Well,
but
like Makari is like the speedster, and he's like in the Eternals, he was the inspiration for Mercury or Hermes, like they're in Greek and Roman mythology. And Jack Kirby in the 40s at Marvel, which was called Timely at that time. No pun intended there, but I'll have some intended puns later. But he had done a comic about Hermes, or I think it was Mercury probably, but like he had that as a character, and so retconned that was Makari in a disguise, responding to like World War II and wanting to help. So he like acted as a superhero. So they retooled those old stories to like fit the Eternals mythology, which is pretty cool. So he's always been kind of fascinated with that stuff. And yeah, I mean, Quicksilver even is a Jack Kirby character, and that's like another Hermes, Mercury type character for sure. So
very
there's
much so.
always that mythology stuff in there. Like, and really like, there was a Thor. He had a Thor when he was at early days before the Marvel universe started. He did stories about a Thor character at DC a few times, but like big red beard Thor, like a much different
Viking kind of a
a lot of mythology in his work.
It's awesome. I'm hoping that because I enjoyed Eternals when it came out. Like I said, I think when you look back on all the movies, I think that movie came out at a bad time. That was horrible, right around COVID. and that's nobody, of course, was thinking about anything but COVID at that time. You're
For
not
sure.
able to tear yourself away from that, and rightly so. So it just came out at a bad time, and but yeah, I enjoyed the story. I liked it. I thought it was good. And I'm hoping maybe that with the season coming out here to Snap, that when people are seeing the characters, maybe they give it a shot. Maybe they never saw it, and then
Right.
maybe like, you know what, I'm gonna go check this out. And
Yeah, I
and
mean,
yeah,
a Rotten Tomatoes score affects people, right? Like, so they're
yep,
like, "Oh,
it
nobody
does.
liked this movie, must be bad if they haven't bothered to watch it." And
Yeah.
it's that's a commitment to watch a movie. And I don't actually like. I don't know. Anytime anybody complains about almost any genre movie, I'm like of a nature. I'm like, when I was a kid, like any kind of movie that came out with like science fiction or superheroes or like
Oh
anything, I
yeah,
was like,
yeah, for
I'm
sure.
like, what are you complaining about? Like, we watched the worst crap and still loved it.
Right.
Like, I'll watch Crow, like, and
Oh,
you know,
oh my God, Kroll,
yeah,
dude.
um,
I wanted for years, and still to this day,
yeah,
I look for. I wanted a glaive
oh
so
yeah, yeah, yeah,
badly. I
right,
tried to make one out of paper when I was a kid. I'm like, I wanted, and then
yeah,
I saw someone had a prop
oh right,
of one somewhere that they made, because you can make anything today out of a 3D printer.
sure, absolutely, yeah.
Somebody had one and was selling it online. He wanted like a couple $100 for it. I'm like, I really want to get that, but of course I didn't. I was like, but
Right,
oh my
right.
God,
Yeah.
they even made a video game out of that.
They absolutely did,
That was
yeah.
an arcade game at one
Yep.
point, because I remember
Yes.
playing
Oh,
that
that's
too. Oh
yeah.
man,
So,
that see,
um,
yeah.
if Eternals came out in, like, the '80s, like, it would have been
Oh, it would have been
a
awesome.
cult classic
Yeah,
by now. It'd be
yeah, it
like
would have.
the old Dune movie, which, like, a lot of
Mhm.
people hate, but, like, a lot of people deeply love, and I'm,
With
like, one of those
Sting.
people. Yes, yeah.
I will kill him.
Yes, yep,
Yep, yep.
and, and I think it'll probably find those people that wanna, like, have kind of that headier, deeper thinking experience, but it's an
Yeah,
interesting movie, like, there's a lot there that's going on, so I hope that people go back to it. Mostly, I want them to, like, not give up the story. This is one of the points I make in the article is, like, comic books have this luxury of, like, this didn't hit, people won't really like it. They'll put it away and then it'll come back and they'll tell the rest of that story somewhere else and nothing ever has to get just ignored. So I'm worried that they're going to be like, "Oh, Eternals didn't work and people didn't like it." So they're never going to talk about the giant stone hand sticking out of the ocean again.
right. Yeah, like how
And
do you explain that one? Yeah,
and
I was
and a
like,
Marvel comic wouldn't do that. Like they wouldn't break the continuity like that. And I hope the movies get that lesson from the comics that like the continuity is important, whether or not it was financially successful or
right.
whatever metrics you have for it. Like the story is important. So if you want to continue telling this story that lasts decades and over all these movies, like you gotta not just ignore things that didn't like financially hit the way you wanted to. Figure it out, fix it, and do it again. Um,
100%.
yeah.
100%. I did hear a rumor that so with the Fantastic Four being the period piece that it's going to be, that they takes place in the 60s on a different universe.
Yeah.
But I did hear a rumor that they may fit that big hand in the ocean in with Galactus, because
Ah,
apparently Galactus is feeling the energy from that planet because of that being there, so he goes after it for that reason.
that's very
So
interesting.
when they
Hmm.
come, I guess, into this universe, how they're going to bring them into this universe,
Yeah.
and then apparently that's what leads him to follow them, because of that hand being in the ocean. I don't know if that's true or
That
that's
would
how
be
they'll work it
interesting.
in,
Yeah.
but yeah, but
Um,
I hope
the,
they do and they don't just leave it there.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. I love that it's a period piece. Honestly,
yeah.
like I think that's a great idea.
Oh, I do too. I can't wait. Seeing a 60s Fantastic Four. Yeah,
Yes.
I'm down.
Yeah.
I mean, that's those when the again, we're reading it. We're talking about Jack Kirby too. I can remember reading an issue of that where Namor forgot who he was.
Yeah.
The famous issue where he's walking around with a big long beard and
Yep.
nobody knew who he was, until then all of a sudden the Fantastic Four get him. Johnny Storm uses his flame and shaves his beard
I think he
and
even
realizes
like
he's Namor.
in a meta kind of moment, like looks in a comic book, right? And he's like, I think that's the Submariner.
Yep.
Like,
Oh man, yeah. I like that it's a period piece. I really
yeah,
do, and I love the cast. I think
I
the
do
cast
too.
is brilliant for it.
I also,
I'm
yeah,
a big fan, really a big fan. I listen. The '90s ones were very campy, but I still enjoyed them because that was all we had,
yeah. No,
and
I
I
liked
and I
it.
just
I didn't see the other one, like the third one. I I probably should watch it at some point, like the reboot.
Oh, that
I didn't see
yeah,
that
that
one.
was not that great. Yeah.
Yeah. And I
Yeah.
shouldn't. Just criticizing people not giving a movie a chance because of bad reviews. So I probably should like just watch it at some
Yeah,
point.
I mean, any of them's really worth at least one watch.
Yeah,
I just don't. All three of those movies, and the one thing they just could not do, and I could not understand it, is how can you screw up Doctor Doom so badly?
absolutely. Yeah, I was gonna say like Doctor Doom is important and like
Oh, and I
pure.
mean, first they made Yuppie Doom, right?
Yeah,
He was Yuppie Doom,
right.
and then they made in that one that
The
you didn't
hacker.
see.
Yeah,
But he also became a dude that would just explode people's heads with his mind. He's just blowing people's heads off their body. I'm like, what is this? Like
why?
this is
Why?
the stupidest thing I've ever seen.
Like you had
And
a
he got
character
his
that visually inspired Darth Vader.
right.
Why not just go for that? Like,
Yeah. How hard is it? And then I'm thinking too, like, dude, he wears an iron mask. How hard is it to make a mask like that and have this guy be what he is? I mean, it's like, I
yeah,
think they were going for the occult side of him a little bit because that's been
sure.
in comics, but they went too far and it was
Yeah,
just
that's
ridiculous.
fine.
I don't know. I'm confident the cast we're getting and stuff like that, and that it's back in the hands of Marvel. I'm confident that
Yes.
that it'll be good, and I'm excited to see it. So. Awesome. All right. Let's talk about some cards. And
Yeah.
of course, we have our season pass card coming tomorrow. It is Gilgamesh. He has been changed already. He is a 5/7 on reveal +1 power for each of your other cards in play with increased power. So, what do you think of the season pass card in Gilgamesh here?
So there are better minds about this kind of stuff than me for sure. But I think he sounds fun. Like it doesn't sound very hard to get him boosted up. Like there's so
Yeah.
many ways. So much of the game is about boosting those cards. So like the people saying zoo, playing in zoo or like figuring out like I'm probably gonna just run him in my pixie deck and maybe add blue marble to there and
Oh, Blue
then
Marvel will make him gigantic.
so if I could get Blue Marvel out cheap and then add Gilgamesh, like then that's a really powerful play. So
He's gonna find a space, and in fact, I was just playing one in on whatchamacall in on not a ladder, but on Proving Ground or not, yeah, Proving Grounds. I was playing that. Somebody played a Patriot deck, so it was Patriot with Blue Marvel with Onslaught. I'm like, good lord, could you imagine if Gilgamesh was in there? He'd be like a
right,
50-point Gilgamesh.
yeah, right,
It's
yeah.
it's but yeah, now I'll ask you again because I'm going to look at you as the expert here because you know more about them. Does his card match his powers? Do you think?
I mean, he's a strong guy. I think his card. So like in the before it was folded into the Marvel Universe Eternals, the
Hmm.
character Gilgamesh was also called the Forgotten One, and he was several figures throughout history that were mistaken for mythological figures. So he was Gilgamesh. He was also Hercules. So he's just a powerful warrior. Like he's probably what Hercules should have been. This card is probably what Hercules should have been developed as instead of a guy that like plays badminton with one of your
That
cards.
throws
Like
cards across
yeah,
the lanes.
yeah. Like
Yeah, yeah,
so I think he is pretty accurate because he's, you're just going to be able to take that seven and even the seven's not bad. Like, so you're generally
no,
going to be able to boost it up and he's going to be a strong guy. And I think that's
yeah,
totally appropriate for him.
yeah.
And a warrior, right? So there's strategy involved there too. So like, I appreciate that about their Gilgamesh design for sure.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. I think it's the stat lines like you're saying, not bad at all, and it doesn't seem like it's going to be that hard to get get some numbers. I probably easily like you were saying, Blue Marvel. My gosh, she's probably
Yeah.
an easy 515 at that
Yeah.
point or
Just
more.
getting both of them out. Like you could play Gilgamesh on 6, like,
Yeah,
and if you get your Blue Marvel out on 5, but like if I can play Blue Marvel for 1 to 3 points, like
yep,
um, with a pixie deck, then
yep.
that's pretty fun.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think he's going to be a pretty good card. I do. Of all the cards that are in the series, I think he's going to be one of the good ones. We'll go to Thena. Of course, she releases tomorrow as well.
Yep.
Thena is a 2/1 after each turn +3 power if you played exactly 2 cards. So You would think very similar to Angela, right?
Sure.
Kind of a scaling card, except that the two card thing I think is where it kind of gets you a little bit. You're gonna have to be playing two cards all the time. Now, Kitty, if Kitty's in the deck, you could play a Kitty
Sure.
Pride and another card pretty easily. That you see that on Angela decks and Elsa deck, and maybe that's where she fits in. Is in
Yep.
that is in that deck.
She's not lane restrictive like Angela, right? So like you
Yep,
don't have to play on her to get that bonus,
correct.
and she's not ongoing or on reveal. She just is. So like I was thinking like I really enjoyed kind of a Black Swan thing. I know people don't like that card really, but like a cheap cards deck with Kyera to protect them, like you could drop a lot of 1-2 power cards and like play those most effective ones and figure out ways to proc them up. And you know she she's a thinking card again. Like she's another thinker, but I think she'd be fun.
Yeah.
I really love that character Thena. Like I think Angelina Jolie was a lot of fun in that movie.
Yeah.
um
Yeah. Yeah. Again, now from what the way the card reads, similar to the powers of the character, do you think?
um for sure, like the greatest warrior of history. She's Athena. So
Yeah.
she's a strategist and a warrior, and the goddess of wisdom, right? So so yeah, so you're definitely gonna have to like plan that out. She's not a stick into any deck card though, right? Like you
Right.
have to have a plan there for that
Yeah.
to really work out.
Seeing how you mentioned before, and we were talking about the lore and going back to with the Greek gods and all that kind of stuff. I mean, you're already seeing now. You have Gilgamesh, a warrior type, and you compared him a little bit to Hercules.
Yep.
Now you're looking at Athena, who is technically Athena.
Yep.
So yeah, it's really cool. You're starting to find out, like it's starting to, some of it's maybe starting to come together for some people that are listening to the show tonight. So
Mm.
so there you go. All right, next we've got, this is Cersei. Cersei's on reveal. Transform your other cards here into random cards that cost one more if able. Again, pretty good stat line of 5/7.
Yeah.
This,
She's fascinating. I think like
yeah, it is.
fascinating. Like and I know what are people comparing her to? Like Ashana, she's actually not really like
Oh,
that.
it's way better than Shauna because she's
And
yeah.
maybe I don't know. Like I don't think she's quite like anything else, and I think it's going to be really interesting. And like, yeah, you can mess yourself up. Like,
Oh, no doubt. You can
and if you're
stick
going to
yourself
be
in
real
something
uptight
really
about this
bad.
game, like I don't know if this is the season for you. Like, I actually think if there's an overarching theme that like the devs have kind of suggested that they have like kind of like a meta game effect that they kind of want to like have, like the one with Planet Hulk was really obvious that they were
Yes.
looking for big powerful guys.
Yep.
This one I think is about like the whims of the higher powers, right? Like so you're gonna have to like lean into like the randomness of it and hope it works out your way, which is kind of what I enjoy doing in this game. And sometimes it doesn't work and you reload another match, but like sometimes it does, and that's really satisfying. And I think she's going to be that kind of card where like you can just suddenly turn something around, which can be really cool. Throw a bunch of rocks down, and then like,
Right. And then they all become two cost cards,
yeah,
or
and there's a lot of
yeah.
great two cost cards. So
Yep. Yeah, no doubt. Yeah, that's true. You can, I mean, let's see the card. Transform your other cards here. This is actually, that's a great point. This is actually an anti-clog card, if you think about it.
yeah,
Because if people are
sure.
clogging you up with a bunch of junk, they're throwing over a bunch of rocks and all that kind of stuff.
Seriously, I hadn't thought about that really like that either. But like, if they drop their void on you with their Annihilus on turn
Hmm.
5, and you can turn, what's he, a 4, the
Yep.
void, so you could turn
Turn them
him
into a
into a
random
5,
four. Yeah.
or turn him into
Yep.
a 5, like
Yep. Imagine turning them into a red skull or something and
right,
turn them
that's
completely
pretty
around.
awesome. Like,
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
hope
that's
I
true.
get her. Like, I'm gonna use a key to get her. I'm not gonna use tokens, but I do hope I acquire Cersei because she
Yeah.
seems like a good
Now, as
candidate.
far as her lore goes, a sorcerer, I would assume, right?
Yeah,
Or
so it's
yeah,
like Cersei from the Odyssey, like she
yes, yes,
turned all of those sailors into pigs,
yep,
and like so that transformative power. She is the other part of the Eternals that they really like didn't hit the source material right on. Like it was a great performance, and she's a great actress, and she did fine, and they could develop her. But like Cersei in the comics was like really like free spirited and like funny and like a different presentation. She's one of the most fun characters in the Marvel universe. And so yeah, like she's transformative. Like she literally can turn anything into anything. So
There you go. So
yeah,
spot on. Very cool.
yeah.
All right. We're going to move on to the next one. We have got Makari. Makari, we talked a little bit about her earlier, just a little bit ago. After this turn, or after the turn, runs from your hand to a random location if possible. So many people are saying, is probably maybe the worst card of the month in the set. She's going to probably work in Surfer, I'd imagine. Everybody always says that the 3 cards going to work in a Surfer deck. And look, I don't know. Some people were saying early priority, right? If you have her in your hand, like in the opening hand, she's going to give you early priority. So if that's important for you, which in a lot of people's decks it is, you're going to get that quick 3 that's going to jump down onto your board, which is going to give you priority early in the game. So
if I was ranking them, I'd probably I rank her last. I'm probably not going after her. And at the same time, I'm really interested in seeing what she plays out like, because she could be really interesting. Like she's interesting with Cersei. Like there's a 4 that you get to play for free if you drop Cersei on her. So
yeah, that's true. Yeah.
So interesting. It's an interesting card. So I don't know. We'll see what happens with her.
I love how she even kind of the artwork even looks a little Flash-like. You could see the lightning and stuff like that, and the red and the yellows and stuff in the costume. So
Eternals is a kind of like a sneaky Justice League movie. So
that's true. Yeah, you could definitely see that. Definitely. All right, we'll go to Phaistos. On reveal, give each card in your deck a -1 cost or +2 power. This is crazy. I don't see how this can be bad. I don't see how this card can. It's not. Now I understand, like any card, if you don't get it on curve, right? You don't get it on turn 3 and you're waiting till like turn 5, turn 6, it's kind of useless at that point.
Maybe,
right. So you kind of have to get it out pretty early, but still, this seems like a pretty strong card.
Yeah. I'm also probably not going after him, but that's another like regret. Like I wish I could get all these cards, like more so than I'd like to have all the cards. I also don't mind not having them and getting them eventually through. But he sounds really interesting. I love how out of the box, I guess, for lack of a better term, all of their designs this month are. Like I think they have some really interesting ideas that they're playing out here. So I'm reluctant to say he's not going to be good. Like I think you're right. Like how could it be bad? I guess it's maybe just the choice of like, am I going to take one of my 12 slots to play this card?
Right.
But I don't know. I think he'd be fun to play around with for sure.
Now, lore for Phastos. Am I pronouncing it correctly? First of all, is it Phastos or Phaistos?
Your guess is probably as good as mine.
Right. There you go.
And I don't know him as well because he kind of came in like the 80s Eternals run. I think Peter Gillis wrote it. And I haven't read run. I know from the movie, and he's a lot of fun in the movie. So he's a builder. Like his lore is that he introduced all of the technology to humankind over the centuries. Like he was the one that actually like developed the steam engine and or even the wheel and things like that. Like like he is the generator of technology, kind of like a Prometheus type figure maybe. But so like I'm interested in what they do with his animation and stuff. Like how are they going to show this effect, which is an undersung aspect of this game, is like how they like animate these abilities, like make it work with like how the character works. Like is he going to be doing something with that hammer? Like
you might see like an electric, like it almost looks like we have an electrical bolt around there.
I'm expecting a lot of gold, like Art Deco-y looking lines, like a movie. That will be interesting. So pretty cool. But like he was like 4th for me probably.
Okay. Yeah.
Or what are they? 5th, I guess. Lucario is 6 in my
Yeah,
list.
there's 5. Yeah. Yeah. I always forget there's 5 every season now. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
crazy. All right, so we'll move on. Oh, I cannot wait for this card. I'm so
I know this is the
excited.
one I am
Oh
just gonna
man.
buy them outright, and because I
Yeah,
want
dude.
this card. Yeah,
If you're looking to get any card this month, I would probably tell everybody to save up for this one because this is going to be a different way to play the game.
it's a different
I,
game. Yeah,
I've said it as soon as I saw it. People have been clamoring and asking these guys to do a draft mode. Technically, that's what this is. You're
yeah,
playing this. You're drafting a hand.
yeah.
Sure, you can put your own cards in there, but chances are you may never see many of them. So
Sure.
this is as close to a draft mode I think as you're going to get.
Yeah, if you
You're
feel
getting
like you've got cards that you can't get through the current system as readily as you want, buy Arisham, and like you'll get a chance to play with all the cards. Like,
that is very true.
yeah.
That's very true. Also, Darkhawk is going to go wild on people
Oh my
playing against
gosh.
this deck. You're going to see Darkhawks that are going to be 30 power, 40 power Darkhawks
Right.
from this, but this is a lot of fun. I love that they're putting new cards into the look. He's the first 7-cost card we have. There's
Yeah.
only one other card that's over that, and that's Death.
Right.
And this is basically its own game. So we're almost going like to a high Evo type card or a Thanos type card that creates its own little game within the game.
Yeah,
At the start
love
of the
it.
game, he gets +1 max. You get +1 max energy. Shuffle 12 random cards into your deck. So yeah, this is
Wow,
this is gonna be a blast.
that's just a good time. Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, this is going to be a blast. I think good for creators too because they can do streams around this card. They say, all
Absolutely.
right, we're going to go on ladder, guys, and we're going to try to climb with RSM
Well,
tonight.
I told you gotta like figure out a way to like stream Arisham weekends with Agatha. Like,
Oh my God. Can you even imagine that?
it's gonna be a party.
Oh, that's a big, that's a party. All right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Agatha will, that's one of the most fun things I do. I really,
love it.
I enjoy that so
Yeah.
much. And
You
it's
made a
just,
game within the game yourself. Like,
I really did. It's
and
the stupidest, goofy little thing, but
it's
I
so
love it.
clever. Like, and I play the weekend missions, not with Agatha, but I like have a little self restriction. I'm like, I'm going to put all the requirements into one deck and make it work.
Yeah.
And it's just a little game I play with myself on the weekends. And like,
Yep.
but I love that you like, I don't know. It's super fun.
It's so much fun.
Yeah.
It's just so stupid. And she's got like so many times. Like I get, she's gonna turn on me and I'm just gonna get crushed. Yeah. It's like, but that's part of it. It's just part of the fun.
There's gonna have to be an Agatha all along season when that show comes out.
Oh, I'm so excited for
what are they
I saw
do?
that coming out. Yeah, dude, I'm excited for that. I think it's coming out around Halloween time.
Well, that's smart.
In October. So yeah, I'm really excited for that. I love the character in Scarlet Witch and here in WandaVision.
Yep.
And we'll get to that in a little bit because we're gonna do our top 5 Jack Kirby, and we may I don't know. We may see. We may get to an appearance of Agatha at some point in there, but yeah, I think RSM is going to be really good. And as far as the lore, of course, with RSM too, I mean, I would definitely think it's fitting. Oh, when you had brought up the graphics, man, dude, in the developer video that you see what his graphics are on there.
Oh, I missed. I didn't pay attention to that part.
Yo, go check it out. It's tremendous.
I was distracted by the Blair Witchness of it.
Yeah, that was weird. So like, why are you doing creepy? I would have waited with that one for like the Halloween one,
right? Like, I don't know.
Yeah, I didn't get that either, but I get the whole looking up at the stars, camping and stuff like that. Yeah. I get that.
Yeah,
but when they got to the Blair
constellations
Witch,
I'm
like, yeah, Ben Brode, he's funny. You got to give it to him.
I enjoy him.
He's funny in those videos.
He's the Stan Lee of Marvel Snap, right?
He really is. Yeah, he really is. Yeah, he really is. But as far as the lore goes, how do you think the card is? Of course, with
so like, I mean, powerful, right? He's a god. He's like a god above like Galactus level.
Yep.
God. And like, so they made it so that the Celestials were the ones that came and experimented on early life forms on this planet and made it possible for the genes that could get affected by gamma rays or spider bites and turn you into a superhero, or like eventually like mutants could develop. Like it was the Celestials ultimately who caused that. So like there's an interesting bit of lore there that like he's taking 12 random cards from the game, and because the Celestials are ultimately the power behind everything except for eternity, which isn't in this game yet. But
Yeah. Oh, yeah. We've
I
got to
will
get
be.
eternity in the
Yeah.
game at some
Yeah.
point, no doubt. Maybe the next time, maybe when a Doctor Strange 3 hits the
Yeah.
screen.
I
We'll,
enjoyed how they presented eternity in Love and Thunder. I
oh, he
know a lot of
looks
people.
so
It
good.
was so cool, and
Yeah.
it, like kind of giving it like a Buddhist vibe to it was like
Yes.
very interesting. Like,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
I love that movie too. And a lot of people don't like that one either.
Oh yeah, no, I really enjoyed that movie. I thought it was really good. Yeah, no, I'm a big anytime they're gonna bring people in with that Nightmare.
Oh
I
my
can't
gosh.
I
Yeah,
can't wait to see Nightmare on a screen.
yeah,
Of course, we got Clea now, so you're gonna have Clea in the next film. Doctor Strange characters are just
oh, absolutely.
tremendous. Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm excited to see where that goes. I can't wait to see how they go with those. But yeah, like all in all, I think it's gonna be a fun season. There's gonna be.
yep,
I only wish with this card, I wish this would have come out sooner because it's only 1 week before the next season
right.
starts. And then, of course, everybody's going to be all into Deadpool, rightfully so, because Deadpool comes out, and then everybody's going to kind of forget about this, I think. But I may have even made this the season pass card,
Yeah, just for the
um,
chaos. Like,
just for the chaos.
yeah,
Yes, yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah. So, but it's going to be fun, and
absolutely.
I appreciate you going over the lore. I love that
Oh
because
yeah, no, I appreciate you
yeah,
asking.
absolutely. People get a little bit of a taste of what the lore is about, and
Yep,
like I said, who knows? Maybe this will kind of reignite a little fire in some people, and maybe have them go watch the movie if they never did before.
yeah.
So yeah, it's going to be a fun season. All right, we have. Let me see where I'm positioned here. Of course, that's it. Okay, let me get back to these slides here. We're going to go through. We each came up with a top 5 list of our top 5 Jack Kirby art or Jack Kirby characters. And so I have pictures of them that I randomly took, and we'll go over. I don't think I'm going to be able. Let's see if I can do 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I'm going to go over. There she is. Okay. Yeah, I think I went 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 with mine, and then
Okay,
yours I went 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Yes. Okay.
okay,
All right. So he is. Okay. He's your number 1. Yes.
yeah.
2, 3. Now they're a little bit out of order. So I
That's
think
okay.
your number 5 was
So
was
my
it
number 5 is Ant-Man,
Ant-Man. Okay. There we
and
go.
so I was thinking about it in the context like Jack Kirby characters in the game, right? So
Yes.
like, Ant-Man is a lot of fun, like, and underrated character. Like he's a lot of fun in the movies too, but like he's a goofy character, like goofy concept. I'm actually wearing, you can't probably see it, but I've got like my
The
t-shirt is
Avengers
like
thing.
the Avengers cover, and Ant-Man's on there, and he's riding not just one ant but two, like they're skis. Like, and it's just so it's
That's awesome.
fantastic. But like but I really love playing Ant-Man. Like, it's not that hard to get him good stats, and I love the animation of Ant-Man, like how he shrinks or grows, like when you put him on there. And yeah, I'm an Ant-Man fan. Hank Pym or oh, the other one. I
Yeah,
can't
I
even think
was
of his name.
Scott Lang, not Scott Lang.
Yeah, Scott Lang. It is
Yeah,
Scott Lang.
yeah,
Yes,
yeah,
absolutely. Yeah.
yeah. No,
So
he's great in those ongoing decks. I was playing those
yes,
ongoing
yeah,
decks for a good while, because obviously Man Thing was in there, so I have to
yeah.
use any excuse to play that card. But yeah, no, Man was perfect in those decks. Yeah,
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 he's a lot of
absolutely.
times like my one, like I put a couple ones in a deck, and a lot of times I will choose Ant Man because he's just easy to play.
Yep, especially now that you have Captain America a lot better, he
Yes.
goes right in with him. So yeah, no doubt. And it's crazy, when you look at the comic book cover and you're like, wow, like this is an old book. I
Yeah.
mean, you don't realize some of these characters have been around for as long as they have. And yeah, Ant-Man has been around for a good long time.
Yeah.
So
And
all right, gonna go to my number 5, and I am going with Jack Kirby's Captain America as my number 5. I mentioned this book. I had this book for many years. When I was a kid, I can remember we used to have things called tracing paper. And I would take the tracing paper and go over these so many times that the little pencil lines would like ingrain themselves inside the book.
That's how people learn to draw.
Yeah, right. By the way, and I don't know if you noticed this, I picked up on it right away, and I would really love it if, in fact, I added him on Twitter. I think that Dan Hipp's Cap is modeled after this book.
I see that. Totally, the posture, like his whole pose is probably, and that's what I love about Dan Hipp is tremendously talented illustrator. You can just like his line, like he is a very competent artist and a great like eye and sense of style. And the thing that I love, besides that he's affordable to buy variants of his cards, like he's always goes for like the classic. It's either going for the classic style or like a variation on the movie presentation or something. He's always hitting some kind of like sweet spot with that character. And I would not doubt that this cap is a basis for that for his card.
As soon as I saw that Hipp variant, I added him right away. I'm like, Dan Hipp, did you happen to read this comic book when you were younger? Because as soon as I saw it, I'm like, it has to be. Like with the way he positions, like you said, like how he's positioned with the shield and everything, and the shield's closer to the front of the card. Man, this was an amazing book. It showed Cap in many different ages, basically. World War II, the Confederate War down there, you see, and the Civil War, and then of course he's in outer space at one point in it too.
Oh I read this.
Very good
for a long time.
It came out obviously in 1976 because of the bicentennial.
Did you so how are you liking Cap now that he's been reworked?
I love the card. I think he's great. Now, a lot of people were complaining because they said they made it ongoing, but I threw it right in that ongoing deck. I think he works great. I don't even really, I was using Punisher for a while in that deck, which I don't anymore. Now I just put Cap in there instead of the Punisher, and he just does, he's fine. Sure, you can make him better. I get it. People wanted to really use him in just different things than ongoing, but I think they kind of did that because they want to keep it for he's a starter card ultimately.
I don't even really care about that like early deck argument that they make, but I don't think that every card should be like I think he's at a good level where
I think so.
I think he was underserved, but I think that this is a better use for him. And I played around with him a little bit mostly because I want to play Cap. Like
me too.
I want to have him in my game sometimes. So, and I think he plays well. I played with him sometimes in the other version too. Like I didn't think he was that terrible, but it seemed egregious that they just ignored him for so long.
Agreed.
And there's several other cards like that I think like they really need to speak.
That need a little love. I agree. And I just wanted to ink that Captain America variant. Oh my God. I spent so many.
That's a beautiful card.
When we got our board reports at the end, they're like, you must love Captain America because you upgraded him 35 times. I'm like, dude,
you're like, you're damn right. I love Captain America.
I wanted that inked because of that it looks like an old school TV show with the crackles on the screen. And I'm like, man, I got to get this card inked. It's going to look so good. Once I did, I was pretty happy. So it was awesome. All right, let me go back to I'm gonna scroll around here left and right here, but I think this is your number 4. Am I right?
Enchantress. She's a fantastic character. It was a really cool early era of the Avengers, like when Jack Kirby was still on the book, and like he did this in both X-Men and Avengers, which started in the same exact month. Actually, both those titles started simultaneously. But there was a period of time near the starts of those comics where like there was a team of villains that were almost as important as the heroes. So like the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants was, were in every issue practically of those early X-Men comics. And the Masters of Evil and the Avengers were there all the time too. So it was Zemo and the Enchantress and the Executioner, who they got to get into this game at some point because he's and she's just a tremendously fun character. Powerful. Like I think Secret Wars was probably where I learned about Enchantress because she's just one of the random villains that like is on the bad guy side in that story. But she was in a really great like X-Men New Mutants crossover
Yep.
annuals thing with like working with Loki. And then in Snap, like she's just super important. Like talk about the ongoing deck. Like
She wiped that out.
yep.
Yep.
And she's just a little bit awkward I find almost all the fours a little bit awkward to play, and it's almost like their spot. But like she got great variants too. Like they have some really fantastic like.
Yeah, they really do that. And of course they made the Sylvie variant of her.
Oh yeah,
as well from Loki. But yeah, she can shatter a deck type, man. She can absolutely one-handedly kill off Tribunal. The whole entire deck is gone, like literally gone.
Right.
So it's so funny. She's such a real. She's to your point. She's such a great tech card. But it is, I don't know why. It's always not been people's first choice. They'll always go to Rogue first. And I guess maybe because she's easier to get out and, she's a lower cost card in order to
get
play.
The ability, but like, I probably tend to go to Rogue more often than Enchantress too. But sometimes it's just, it feels cheeky to take the power from them and have a work against them. But man, Enchantress can really change the entire game. Like,
no doubt. Yeah, no doubt. And Tribunal is pretty popular. I've seen a couple of it playing on it. Yeah, no doubt. All right, let me go backtrack here and I'll go to mine. There she is. It is Agatha, baby, and that's the one I remember from my childhood. That's the creepy one. I mean, look at the scowl on her face. And she is the typical, with even that cat looks like it's ready to just destroy, like bite your head off.
I mean, the thing looks worried. Like,
I would look worried. I mean, the guy made of rocks is now concerned
about the cat,
right? Tremendous. I remember first seeing this and I'm like, that's creepy. And she's the typical like witch character from that time, and she's of course Agatha Harkness, and that we saw her in WandaVision, and a completely different way that they made her. She's not the old the old witch, but I'm sure she could take that form maybe at some point if she wanted to. But obviously definitely my number 5. It's so funny because the comics I read or have read in the past that have stuck with me for so long, like the Man Thing and like this is probably the reason. We were just joking about the Agatha stuff that I do in the weekends. This is probably why.
Sure. Yeah.
In all essence, it's probably
important to you. Yeah.
Yep. Because I remember it from my childhood, and it just stuck with me all these years. And I'm like, oh, cool, they have an Agatha card. So yeah, awesome. All right, let me go back to yours here, and this is it Doom Magneto? No, it's High Evolutionary, I think, wasn't it? Was your number
probably
3?
Yeah, I'd say High Evolutionary, and it's a cheat because like, I mean, he's obviously a great archetype. Like, I think he's a little. I think Red Hulk kind of like stole his thunder a little bit because you don't want to
agreed.
cheat that energy so much. If someone's playing Red Hulk, it's probably evening out a little bit. I've seen some High Evo out there lately, actually. But
it's always around.
Wasp is a Kirby character.
Yep.
Cyclops is a Kirby character. The Hulk, obviously, and the Thing. They're so 4 of the vanilla cards that he like transforms are Kirby cards, and and he is as well, and tremendously well achieved like use of the lore too in that card. Like he literally like experiments on individuals and turns them into something else. So
the Marvel movie that my poor youngest daughter cried her eyes out watching.
Same.
Oh my gosh, man. She's sitting there when they showed that part where Rocket was in like that little heaven thing. She's bawling her eyes out. It's like, oh my gosh. But
I love that movie.
Yeah, me too. All the Guardians movies I enjoyed. That's why I'm pretty confident that James Gunn will do well in DC, because I think he's just good. His acting, the people who acted for him love him, and that's why a lot of them were like, when they were finished, they're like, we're done, we're not doing it anymore,
right?
Because
I'm sure it's very demanding, and
you
gotta really like
Yeah, very loyal and stuff
Yep.
to him and stuff. But yeah, high Evo decks are still good, man. They're
Yep.
I run up against them, whether they're playing the negative one with Abomination, or they're playing the one with She-Hulk, and now they have Red Hulk in there too. So still a very good deck, and a cool deck type to play, man. You
For
know,
sure.
you have all these other cards that were pretty much horrible, right?
Yes.
Cyclops was unplayed.
Yep.
Most of these cards weren't good at all, and now
Yeah.
they made them a home.
So I will sometimes play around and do like a Marvel Snap classic team or classic creator or something deck build
yeah,
challenge. And like any of them that involves Cyclops, I have to put Evo in there or the card's not viable. Like he's
right.
the only you have to sacrifice a spot in the deck if you want to play Cyclops.
Yeah.
Because otherwise he's just a guy that stands there. Like
Yep. He's
yeah.
he's good. He's a good Patriot card. That's about
Yes,
it.
right. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, he needs Patriot or he needs high Evo, and I'd rather him shoot like laser beams out of his eyes personally. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. All right, let me go down here and we'll go back to my list here. We've got the Human Torch from the Fantastic Four. Man, I was always an avid reader of Human Torch, of the Fantastic Four books.
Yep.
I always loved them. I love this form of Johnny, where his face is kind of almost like you can't really make it out much.
Yep.
Yeah.
I love this look for him too, with the vertical lines. Like he's almost like a charcoal briquette.
Yes.
Not just made of fire. Like modern versions of him aren't quite
Yeah.
like as iconically visual to me as this classic Human Torch look is.
Yeah, and you know what's great is even like in the 70s when they made those Mego figures,
his
Mego figure looked like this.
Right.
Like they had the other part of him. Of course, they had the cloth suit on because they couldn't, but they had the flames on the suit, and then underneath him was just all red. Like you saw the red with the black, like the lines and stuff in. So yeah, I love this form of the Human Torch. I was a big Human Torch fan. I love the Fantastic Four, but he was always my favorite one. Yeah, man, I loved, and of course Jack Kirby's art was just tremendous.
He had a great time with that character, I think. Like, and he had his own solo run, like
he did,
like in one of the anthology, maybe Strange Tales. I don't know. There was a half of the issue feature of the Human Torch for quite a long time. Like, and those are some great comics. If people ever track those down, like solo Human Torch adventures. And I hope like they get to where they can have like the Spider-Man Human Torch friendship rivalry.
Oh, they have to, right? Yeah,
like, that's such a good time.
Yeah, and they're both about that. Well, they got the actor that's a kid who played Eddie in Stranger Things that's playing him, which is a tremendous casting, I think, too. And you can totally see him and Tom Holland getting together like that. And so yeah, I could definitely see it. But yeah, I love this, and I mean, you can see on here if you're looking on YouTube. I mean, look at the art with Jack Kirby with the Mr. Fantastic up in and the jaw line that he has, and of course then Sue underneath the Thing and stuff. Just tremendous. It is absolutely tremendous.
I got a coffee mug with this cover on it.
Do you really?
Yeah.
Oh, it's so good, man. I absolutely love it.
And the Inhumans, like I want Karnak.
Yes,
right.
We got to have an Inhumans, some kind of thing with the Inhumans.
I know the Inhumans are getting a bad rap. Like the Inhumans are a great time. So
I like the TV show. I know people make fun of it.
Yeah,
it wasn't great, but I didn't mind it. I thought it was
back to like we're going to appreciate anything they give us.
That's like, very true.
Murder She Wrote used to be the only show on. Like we're gonna if there's somebody
right, like
something out of their hands, I'm watching
right.
It. Like,
we grew up and we had nothing but Bill Bixby's Hulk coming on TV at night. Yeah. So yeah, man, it's awesome. All right, we're gonna go back down to yours, and we'll go to I think this is your number. What are we at? Your number
Doom?
2,
Dr. Doom. Like we talked about him a lot already. I mean, he's I'm terrible at ranking things. So I think Darkseid is a Jack Kirby character, obviously from DC, but like is the greatest villain ever made. But Dr. Doom is definitely a contender, probably number 2, and like such a compelling character. Really just as fascinating as anybody that he fights. Like like just a tremendous love for Doctor Doom, and like we were saying, they got to get Doctor Doom right.
Yeah, it's this is a can't miss.
Yeah.
Whoever they're bringing on. There's been so many rumors that he's gonna be part of Secret Wars. They might do the God Emperor Doom
Yep.
in Secret
They got to
War.
build them first, though. Like they can't
They
just
do.
pop them in there. So
Yeah, they do. We got little teases for him that people may have missed in Moon Knight.
really,
Yeah. So when Moon Knight was driving through the country in that little truck, there was a crate on that truck that said Latveria.
oh,
And as he was
okay,
going down the little road in the countryside, you could look up on the side and there was a castle on
wow,
the
that's
side of
awesome.
the hill. So I'm like, oh, was that Castle Doom?
That's
And sure
cool.
enough, they confirmed it. They're like,
That's
yep,
so
that
cool.
is
That's great.
I'm like, yeah, that's awesome. So yeah, you're right. They need
Yep.
to get this character correct. Whoever they decide to cast as him, and man, the rumors are flying around.
Sure.
They're talking. I remember one of them was Keanu Reeves. Like they're talking about all these famous actors that they're getting or looking at for him. But yeah, they've got to knock this one out of the park. He is
And they got to
one.
get someone who can act through that mask. And there's actors who
Yes,
can do that, and
yes,
others who can't. So
yeah,
like
that's very
someone who
true.
can like really carry it and has charisma that like comes out through
Yes,
a
yeah.
prosthetic on their face. But
Yeah, no doubt. This
um,
guy can be a villain for like several movies.
yes.
That's how big that this character is.
Well,
So
he was so much fun in the comics where he would like show up in Spider-Man or something, and he would
yeah,
like,
yeah.
it wasn't
Oh
always the
yeah.
Fantastic Four. Like he
Yeah.
would randomly like fight somebody else, and his schemes were they had a Doctor Doom like supervillain team up. Like
Yep.
was a fun '70s series where he like would team up with a different supervillain, like the
Yeah.
same way Spider-Man teamed up with a different superhero in Marvel Team Up. So.
Yep. Yeah.
But then in Snap, like he's one of my almost always play cards. Like not
Oh,
always,
great
but
card.
pretty close to it. Like you can just add 15 power to the board. Like it's hard not to appreciate that.
Yeah. Yeah. He's all, and I don't understand it. Like so many people still like they don't see it coming. They're thinking
Yeah,
like, oh, I want to see, and now he's not maybe as prevalent as he used to be, like maybe a couple like 3-4 months ago, but still, it's still that surprise card that you get down on your last turn,
yeah,
and it's just going to win you lanes because
absolutely.
yeah. So I love it. More people playing it now with Patriot too because it builds up those Doom
Yep,
bots. So yeah, it's just a great card. Always been a great card in Marvel Snap.
it has.
So
Yeah, they did a
all
great
right,
job.
go back to mine, and I have Arnim Zola as my number 2. And the reason I chose this is not because I like it, because I really don't play a lot of a Destroy. I hate it.
Yeah,
In
yeah,
fact, I hate it because it beats me all of the
sure.
time.
Yeah,
All of the time. When I'm playing Destroy, this is the card I fear the most. I'm
yeah,
not that afraid of like a null because I know I have a Shang-Chi most of the time in my back pocket.
right.
This card, though, you can't predict what you can see the venom
Yep.
there, but if you can't Shang that before they get that off, this thing's going to kill you. It's also going to
Um,
beat you up in negative, Mr. Negative decks as well. So
yeah, he pisses me off. Like
me too.
it's probably the card I hate the most. And
Yes.
I'm with you. Like,
Yeah, I do not like. Yeah, he's up there, but only because I'm not. I don't use him. He's up there because he beats me a lot.
yeah,
And
no,
so
no, I respect him. Like he gets me a
yeah,
lot.
yeah.
And he's a great character design. Like look
Oh,
at
no
that.
doubt, man, no
Like,
doubt. Yeah, we saw him in what was it, Captain America 2, right? The second
yeah,
Captain America movie.
yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, he was as his pre-computer self in the first
right.
one, right? So, but
Yeah,
yeah. And that guy Toby Jones, I think, plays him.
yeah.
He,
He was the one who was the Nazi scientist
yes,
in the original
yep.
Captain
And
America. Yeah,
he's the voice of Dobby in the
yeah.
Harry Potter movies, which is hilarious to me. Like, and so
Oh
and
man,
so the Red Skull was the guy who played Elrond in Lord of the Rings. So like
yes.
Hugo Weaving. So like I don't know something about
Also,
those
he was whatchamacallit in the
in the
Matrix.
Matrix. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, so I don't know a lot of Nazi elves for some reason. So
That's that's crazy.
yeah.
All right, we're gonna go back to yours, and this is your number 1. So here we go, man. What a
He
number
might
1.
be the best card in the game. Like,
Yeah.
like I just so much power and like I think like it seems like moving the cards could be a detriment, but it's not. It's actually like really beneficial most of the time. You play them right, like
Yep.
they think they're winning a lane, and you're like, here's Magneto, and
Yep. Nope. They're coming over here.
yep,
Yep.
and you know, in a pixie deck, like you play a 1-cost Magneto, like
Oh,
on a
that's
turn
just sick.
4, like
Yeah, dude.
so
It's sick.
and he's such a tremendous character. Like I love all the iterations of Magneto. Like, you know, I really like the development of him as a Holocaust survivor and a mutant freedom fighter slash terrorist with mental health issues, maybe, and like
Right.
conflicted story, like and how they developed him. But also, like if you read those old Jack Kirby comics, like he is such a great mustache twirling. He doesn't have a
Oh,
mustache,
no
but like
doubt.
he's like scenery chewing villain. Like he is a
Yes.
fantastically, and I think Jack Kirby just really loved that character. He kept going back to him. Like he came back and did a Captain America annual in the 70s, and Magneto's the villain, like with a completely different brotherhood. And it's a really weird, fun story, but like he I think he loved that character. My favorite like X-Men comic from the original era
Yep.
is actually an issue of Thor, Journey
Okay.
into Mystery, maybe. But it's I wish I knew the number. I should have prepared. But like, I'll find it and I'll send it to you. Like
Nice.
it's this Thor issue, and he's fighting Magneto and the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants, and the X-Men are all off scene. So there's like you see an optic blast go through. So there's like this fight going on with the X-Men involved, but you're only seeing the effects of their powers.
Oh,
And
okay.
and it's just a tremendously done book. Thor
Nice.
versus Magneto. And it's really, really fun.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's not a pairing you would think you would see.
No.
But yeah, that's and look, we're just kind of tipping the scales with Magneto. We've seen him obviously in the other X-Men movies and stuff like that, but
Yeah.
however they continue with the X-Men in the movies, which we know they're going to do,
Sure.
here's another one that you really got to knock out of the park as far as the casting goes.
Oh yeah.
And get this character right, because
And
he's gonna. Yeah.
they did it pretty good twice. Like
Yeah, they did.
you
They
know,
really did. Ian
yeah,
McKellen was fantastic as an older
absolutely.
Magneto,
Yep.
and Fassbender was good as
Yep.
well,
Yeah.
as the younger version of him. So yeah, 100%. They both did really well. But this, like you were saying, I mean, one of the best villains, and really one of the best cards in Marvel Snap. There's a reason why when people are playing a deck like Hela that has all kind of big, humongous creatures, they still have him in their deck,
Yep.
because of the fact that he's going to disrupt the lane, and he's going to pull cards away to him from another lane, which is going to cause them more than likely to lose that lane.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Drop 12 points at the same time. So
Yep. Absolutely. Yeah, one of the best cards in the game. And mine, I think you all know me very well and pretty much know who I'm going to pick.
Absolutely.
It is, of course, Galactus. My favorite card in Marvel Snap, has been since I pulled him from a cache, and always probably will be. But this, of course, the Jack Kirby art, just tremendous. The
What a
first time,
mind. Like,
oh my gosh, I can remember the first time I saw him was in a Fantastic Four book, which I now have. I have it on my iPad. Of course, the issue was way too. I probably had it at some point, but don't anymore. But I've liked him since then. Just the fact that he is a planet killer. I mean, how do you until they came with Thanos, this guy was it. Like, how do you stop? I mean, Reed Richards was so concerned about him coming to Earth. He spent every waking moment of his life for a while trying to figure out, what are we going to do?
How do we stop this?
He's coming in, so yeah, it's just, he's such a tremendous character. I read, I can't remember now the gentleman's name, but I read the name of the person who they got to voice him, and I'm like, oh, it's perfect. Like, absolutely perfect. He's got an amazing deep voice.
Was it Javier Bardem, or was that an early rumor?
That was an early rumor, but he would have been good too, because he has a really good voice too. Let me consult the old Google machine here, because I think let me see here.
He's an excellently realized card. Like,
oh, no doubt.
I remember when everyone was super mad about Galactus, and nobody likes to lose the match, but like, and I've played a lot of Galactus too. It's fun to do, and it's a different. It's a different game. Like you're having a different strategy altogether.
Yep.
And just what a tremendous effect like that it is. So
the actor's name is Ralph Ineson.
Huh.
He was in The Office for a little bit. He was in Game of Thrones. He was in The Witch. He was in Harry Potter, Chernobyl. And he most recently, and this is how I knew him, he played a character recently in the latest Final Fantasy game. So Final Fantasy 16. But he has got like a tremendously deep, low voice, and I'm like, wow.
Okay, cool. Yeah. So like the Office from the British Office, obviously.
Yes. Yeah, the British one. Yeah. Yeah, but as I had to go listen to some clips of him speaking and stuff like that, and I'm like, oh my god, this is tremendous.
Oh, he's one of those guys that's been in like a lot of movies that everyone has seen before, but didn't realize.
Yeah. Yeah, it's going to be great. I think he's perfect to fit the voice for the role. I think it's going to be really booming and creepy, which is how it should be.
Yeah, absolutely.
Really. And at least he's not going to be a cloud.
Yeah, that was.
I was very upset, but
their Silver Surfer was so cool. Like
he was
really, especially for the time. Like he looks really great, but like that Galactus was a miss.
The whole movie, I'm anticipating it because I'm seeing the clouds rolling in. I'm like, all right, when's he going to come out of the cloud? And you're going to see the big purple dude coming out. And we never got it. We saw a shadow of what looked like the helmet for a second in the clouds.
Yes,
and then that was even more of a tease. I'm like, oh my god, he's coming out. And I was like, nope,
they chickened out.
Nope, just a cloud.
Yeah, it's always killed me with like they're so much better about it than they used to be. Like they do these adaptations, and they're like, look at the source material, and they recognize that that's like a good story, and then they adapt it, and then they like feel like they need to change it, and they're like, well, if you thought this was good enough to adapt, then why not just like look at what they did? Like, yes, Galactus on the surface seems kind of goofy, but it's awesome, and part of what's striking people as goofy is actually awesome. Like, and you can't quite figure out what it is that Jack Kirby did there, but like he made God into a supervillain and and designed him like he's got like a postmodern architecture for a head, and somehow it works. Like, that's genius. Like that's something that people just can't do. So like, to be like, well, maybe he should be a cloud. You're like, well, maybe you should maybe you should just do what the genius did.
I know. Maybe just stick to the source material.
Yeah.
The only thing I could think of was maybe look, that was the 90s. Maybe they just didn't have the tech to do it.
That's possible. If they didn't think it would look good.
And maybe it would have cost them a fortune to try to do that. So they might have just taken the easy way out. I don't know.
That's true. I didn't think about it like that.
Yeah, whatever though. I'll see him eventually, and I know I'll be like crazy excited when I do. So that's awesome, man. I love it, man. I love the discussion. Always tremendous talking to you. One more time, let everybody know before we head out where they can get that fanzine. Make sure you check him out on Twitter and check that out, man. It's so good. And just go over really quickly. What are the sections that you have in there?
So it's about the Eternals because it's Eternal season. And I have a long essay. Like I am an art historian at heart, so like there's a long essay that you can just skip over if it's not your deal to read something like that. I understand that, but like, but it's a deep dive into Jack Kirby's career leading up to the Eternals, and then sort of the after effects of that, like how that affected Marvel Comics, and then I talk a little bit about the movie. And with the point being like Jack Kirby is important to this game. And like we talk about Kirby Crackle, that's the ultimate split, right? Is to get the right color Kirby Crackle on your right split card. And there's a reason for that. Like that energy is still coming through from this individual's work. And not to be too negative about it because I don't want to be like that, but like he really got misserved by the corporations involved in this.
Agreed.
and so there's a certain desire to underplay his contribution, but like this game wouldn't exist without the genius of Jack Kirby. And those movies wouldn't exist without the genius of Jack Kirby,
No.
even the parts that weren't directly coming from him. So I talk a lot about Jack Kirby because I think people should understand that who he is. Like, I think he's the most important American artist. I think time will prove that, even though he's not a fine artist whose work hangs in museums. I think that's bullshit. Like, he's created items of language that are important to us, and people don't even really know who he is. So I would like people to know that. But then I have a very challenging crossword. Like, it's probably too hard, but like, I don't, so there's a full page that's a crossword that's all Marvel Snap related items in that crossword. Awesome. That was a lot of fun to put together. And then there's a full page of funnies. So they're like playing off of classic. There's a Eternals version of the Peanuts, and there's like there's a Calvin and Hobbes takeoff, which is Annie and the Hood. Which is I think my favorite one that I did. But there's like there's the Summers Family Circus, or the Family Summers maybe is what I called it. And it's like Cyclops and Cable as a little boy, like and so it's Marvel Snap related jokes drawn in the style of those comic strips, and that was a tremendous amount of fun to do. And then I do horoscopes every month because people seem to like these stupid horoscopes.
There you go. Of course. I mean, they were always in the paper every day.
Yeah. So and it's shockingly easy to make up horoscopes because there's always something that seems to. But like I did, I took avatars of characters that seem to be kind of similar to those different signs this time, and I adapted them a little bit and did little flourishes to those. So that was fun to do, and I kind of did that up to the last minute. Like, so like this morning I was finishing those before work. So I think that's everything. And I am going to mix it up. I got some ideas for Deadpool and Wolverine season, but I might take a week off because I really did like go all out on this one.
Sure. Yeah. It sounded like a lot of work. Yeah.
Absolutely. But it's work that I enjoy. It's work that I'm doing for a hobby from my actual work, which is really actual work. So like this is what I do to like feel creative, and I'd like to contribute something to this community, which I really appreciate and enjoy, and it gives me an opportunity to play with these toys, which have been important to me my whole life. So
that's great, man.
Yeah,
I love it. The horoscope thing, I used to remember my mom would call me, "Did you read your horoscope today?"
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Like I did. Like I don't know.
I can't wait. As soon as we get off, I will be going through it and attacking that crossword. I'm a nut for that kind of stuff. I love all those word find crossword type things and everything like that. So yeah, man. Yeah, guys, make sure you check it out. It's a labor of love, I know, from Adam, and it's a lot of fun, and it's Snap related, and we can't always have our face stuck in the screen. So when it's not, and maybe you're relaxing, you're getting ready to kind of wind down, you might be going to bed or something like that, go and check it out. It's really good. I can vouch for. I've seen examples of the funnies, the little comic strips that he's done. Tremendous. They are absolutely tremendous. So you will indeed see the influences and where he got the drawings and stuff from. So awesome, man. Love it. Thank you so much for coming on. Always a pleasure.
Time. Have a great time.
Always a
Love
pleasure.
Your show. Love this.
I appreciate it, man. I appreciate it so much. I love chatting with you about brings back so many memories for me, and it's great. Always awesome. So please, guys, go check him out on Twitter. Give them your Twitter once again, because I know I'm going to forget what it was.
It's Melodrama Kitsch 1. So MELODRAMAKITCH 1, the number 1.
There you go. Make sure you guys go check it out. Check out the fanzine, and obviously leave him some comments as well on the X.
Chop out the bits you like and share those. Like, I don't even care if you credit me, but like put creative stuff out there. Like
there you go. Awesome. Awesome. Well, there you go. All right, guys, that's going to do it for this episode of Snap Decisions. Please make sure if you're watching on the YouTubes that you are subscribing to the channel. You like the video because it does help me out big time over there with their goofy little algorithms. Also make sure if you're listening on
algorithms,
right?
Yeah.
If you're listening on audio, that's perfectly cool. I know a lot of you do. I appreciate all of you there too. Make sure you leave me a review. You could do that on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, I believe. So head over there and do that as well. I will be back tomorrow with my weekly audio pod that will be out. I'll be previewing the new cards and doing all my. I'll have a top 5 that I have to come up with for tomorrow as well on the show, and then I'll be back next week with another guest. But until then, guys, please stay safe. Be kind to one another always. Enjoy the rest of the season in Marvel Snap. And of course, the new season. Oh, and I do have a giveaway, actually 3 of them, 2 season passes and 1 gold pass as well. That is up on my Twitter also right now. So make sure you go into that and you can, who knows, maybe you can win. So have a great rest of your night, everyone. And hopefully I will see you all for the next one. This is your Snap DJ signing off.
Thanks, Joe.